June is PTSD Awareness Month, a time dedicated to raising awareness on the impact it has on those who suffer from it and the access to treatment. WBZ's Breana spoke with a decorated Navy Top Gun graduate who shared his story of struggle and breakthrough using non-traditional treatments and how it motivated him to help others.
You can tell us a little bit more about your background, but I believe it was you flew, 44 combat missions, and that you found your transition out of the military to be really challenging. So if you can just kind of talk to us about what you went through and how it impacted you.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of military trauma actually starts way before folks join the military. A lot of folks who go into the service had tough childhoods too. So I was born and raised in South Philly, South Jersey, 6 Irish kids type of family. And my sister Monica, right in the middle of all of us, was killed by a drunk driver when she was 19 at Villanova University. And I was also unfortunately sexually abused as a child. I bring that up because when I went into the military, it's not like I dropped that trauma, right? And in 15 years of flying F-18s for the Navy, I lost 16 brothers. I've also lost 4 F-18 brothers along the way to suicide. So a lot of trauma in the military, but it was also before. And then transitioning out of the military, I had a very short airline career. September 11th, 2001 was my first and last day at work at American Airlines. So I went to Wall Street instead. So I went from a fighter squadron where you trust the men and women in that organization with your life, or they're just simply not part of it, to a Wall Street firm where I couldn't trust somebody to watch my wallet for 5 minutes when I went to the head. So very tough transition, lost my mission, my sense of purpose, that brotherhood, that sisterhood, that sense of community. And was really lost, kind of spiraling down, and unfortunately hit drugs and alcohol and was in a pretty bad place.
Wow. Thank you for sharing all of that. And it's such a good point that you make, that a lot of the people who enter the military are bringing some sort of trauma with them. And so
Correct.
We often think that the military is the cause of the trauma, right? Or whatever service you're doing.
Correct.
When in fact, it could start long before that.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about the No Fallen Heroes Foundation. This aims to end suicide in the veteran and the first responder communities. Tell us a little bit more about the foundation. Obviously, everything we just talked about, that is what drove you to start this.
Yeah, about 5 years ago, I lost my 3rd F-18 brother to suicide. And I looked at my wife and I said, hey, we need to do something to end veteran suicide. But what do? I mean, I literally stood in front of a whiteboard. I'm like, how do you keep a veteran from killing themselves? You know, help them pay the rent, buy a suit, write a resume. I was lost. And then around that time, a buddy of mine came to me and said, hey, there's a group of Navy SEAL veterans and Green Berets, special ops guys that go to Mexico and they do psychedelic assisted therapy. And there's a really cool group going in a couple weeks. Would you want to go? And I said, man, go to Mexico and do drugs with Navy SEALs. It sounds like a great time. I had no idea what I was getting into. So I don't know if you've ever seen the movie or read the book Lone Survivor. You know, Mark Wahlberg played famous Navy SEAL Marcus Luttrell. So I flew into San Diego. Why did I fly into San Diego? Because if you do what I'm about to tell you in San Diego, you're a felon. If you drive an hour south to a beautiful clinic on the Pacific, it'll save and change your life. So Marcus Luttrell, me, another Navy SEAL veteran, and one of the founders of Black Rifle Coffee, Jared Taylor, also a veteran. And then the 5th guy in our group was an All-American football player at Iowa and an NFL veteran who was just suffering. When I met him and drove in the car across the border, I was in the car with him. I was sitting next to a 6'7", 300-pound dead human. He was just in a horrific place. I'll spare you all the details, but it was without a doubt the most spiritual and life-changing experience of my life. 12 to 14-hour experience. I was, reunited with my sister. I lost my faith for decades in the military, my childhood. I'm like, what type of God does these things to me? I reconnected with my faith. And I will tell you, it was not fun. It was not recreational. It was one of the hardest things. I've done some hard things in my life. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. I was a drinker. I don't know if you could be a good drinker. I was a bad drinker. Up to a year after this treatment, I couldn't even smell alcohol. It made me dry heave. It made me physically ill. So I came home and I said, this is how we're going to end veteran suicide. So the No Fallen Heroes Foundation gives grants to veterans and also first responders. A lot of men and women, they take off that national uniform, then they go home and they become a cop, a first responder, fireman, and they have a lot of trauma too. So we help veterans, first responders, and family members. Gold Star moms, dads, spouses. My wife, my wife's a saint. She put up with me through some horrific times. And a couple months after I got home from healing with the medicine, she went and healed with a group of spouses. And we've never been a better couple, humans, or parents. So that's our current mission right now. And the first 2 years of our mission, I was pretty mad. I'd have to fly to another country to heal trauma that these people incurred serving this one. It would infuriate me. But thank you to the voters in the great states of Oregon, Colorado, and Greg Abbott signed into law in the great state of Texas a $50 million initiative to look into the medicine that I sat with called ibogaine. So one of my major objectives of the No Fallen Heroes Foundation is to heal our heroes at home. And thankfully, we're starting to do more and more retreats here in the U.S.
What would you say would be a good sign for someone who watches this interview, right? And they're either a first responder, a policeman, a firefighter, they've served, or it's a spouse, like you mentioned. I'm sure people have inklings, right, when they know that someone's off. But I guess what would be some signs that you would share for someone to look out for to say, like, hey, maybe this person really needs extra help. And this is when it's crossed the threshold of like, we need to do something about it.
That's a great question. I use the Robin Williams indicator. So first of all, use your gut. If you a family, friend, where if you feel, I mean, energy is a thing. And let me be clear, 5 years ago, Wiz, if I heard me talking like this, I would have kicked my own rear end and stolen my lunch money. But that guy died, you know, on a mattress on a floor of a home in Mexico. So let me clear that up. But use your gut. If you feel a friend or family member is experiencing trauma or suffering, say something. But the Robin Williams indicator is this: if your gut's telling you something's off, and they are they appear to be the happiest person on the planet, those people are usually the ones that are the most. There are people in my past who are like, oh my God, there's no way I would have ever known you were suffering like that. I'm like, I went out of my way to wear a mask for my bride, for my kids, for my job. And that's even more of a struggle because that mask gets really, really heavy. And that's when sometimes people break. I just can't not be who I am anymore.
Yeah. Okay. So almost pretending like everything is fine all the time is actually a sign that it's not.
Correct. We have a saying at the No Fallen Heroes Foundation: it's okay to not be okay. It's not so you're not supposed to be okay all the time. Sometimes things suck, but these medicines allow you to, on the other side of the medicine, look at, instead of being in it, you can be outside of it, looking at it and going, all right, Wiz, you're having a bad day, not a bad life. Old Wiz, oh my God, it's a bad day and a bad life and everything's awful, you know?
I know that you recently met with the VA Secretary, Doug Collins. What was that meeting like? What did you guys discuss?
It would talk about synchronicities. It literally was my 4-year anniversary from crossing the border. So 4 years later, from the border to the Beltway, I had posted a critical tweet to the secretary saying, hey, what are we doing with psychedelics? There, on average, 22, maybe as high as 44 veterans are checking out every day. And when I say that number and people are a little shocked, let me put it in a worse term. I hate putting this out to the universe, but I have to say it. Could you imagine, God forbid, if 22 to 44 children, not once a year, but every day were being shot in schools? Even the pro-gun nuts in this country would freak the hell out. We would do something. But when it's 22 to 44 veterans, people are like, oh, well, thank you for your service, and let's go find something else to do. So I went into the VA armed. As a fighter pilot in a debrief, we have a saying: if you're going to throw a knife, make sure there's a note attached to it. So I came armed with, hey, Mr. Secretary, and he was great. He said, Wiz, the president is on board with this. He said, if anybody's going to do this, it's going to be us, and it's going to be now. And he said that in the cabinet meeting. I was stunned. 4 years after sitting with the medicine, for President Trump to ask in a cabinet meeting, Mr. Secretary, what's going on with veteran suicide? That was shocking enough. But the secretary's answer included, hey, there's some nonprofits out there using psychedelics, apparently with some good results. I mean, we got to look into it and make sure it's safe, but I don't know. There might be something here. I was blown away. There's no way in hell I would have thought, first of all, I would have been at the VA headquarters meeting with the secretary. So I'm pretty bullish as to where we are right now. But let me share with you real quick why I'm very cautious. I stopped going to DC for years for this reason. I met with a lawmaker, Republican, who shall remain nameless. Behind closed doors, he looked me dead in the eyes and he said, Wiz, love what you're doing. And I was like, great. And he's like, no, well, you're going to have a problem with the big pharma and the alcohol and tobacco folks. I was like, isn't that your job? I mean, what are you talking about? I'm going to have a problem. So there are some powerful forces aligned against this. Sadly, there's no money in healing. And that's such an ugly thing to say, but it is the absolute truth. Marcus Luttrell, the Navy SEAL I went with, he was on 15 medications from the VA, 5 to wake up, 5 for lunch, 5 to go to bed. He hasn't taken a single medication in 4 years and hasn't touched a drink. So there are some challenges, but if we keep leading with our heart and our truth, we can't fail. That first psychedelic revolution, I mean, I love my hippies and the mala beads and the rugs, but Timothy O'Leary at the time said, hey, we should put LSD in the water. I think that probably scared a lot of people. This psychedelic revolution, whether it's a Navy fighter pilot, a Navy SEAL, maybe mom and pop, sitting there in Boston can look at this and say, all right, well, these guys aren't too crazy. Maybe there's something here and we should listen to them. This is a we the people moment. This is coming from us up. Clearly, it's not going to come from them down.
Yeah. What would be your advice to anyone out there who is suffering with PTSD, with mental health, but they don't know what that first step is to take?
The immediate answer is you are not alone. I don't know how many times I had some dark nights of the soul saying, I'm alone. There's nobody else going through this. And, maybe I should just check out. Wrong. Your brothers, your sisters, a lot of us have suffered in silence, but healing is possible. There is a way out. That's usually when most people decide to check out, is they just feel that hopelessness. There is no way out. I guarantee you there is a way out. Let me be clear. These medicines are not for everybody. Like I said, this was one of the hardest things. It was tough. But there are so many different healing modalities. Yoga, meditation, walking on a beach, climbing a mountain in Nepal. There are a lot of different healing modalities, but I have a saying, radical trauma might need radical healing. And these medicines are definitely that. And they've been used for thousands and thousands of years, which is interesting. We in the West act and, hey, look at what we just found. And you got a medicine woman in the Amazon going, welcome to the party. We've been using this for just a little longer than you all. So we're getting there. But I would tell them, I promise them, my brother, my sister, healing is possible. There's a way out.
A final question for you. As we mentioned, June is Men's Health Month. How important is it for men to have a role model and to see and hear other men speaking about trauma and, like you said, saying it's okay to not be okay? Because I think for a long time, men were told, if you're not okay, we don't want to hear about it.
Suck it up. I was raised, it's definitely a suck it up culture in the military, but I was also raised that way too. You're a man. Boys don't cry. I'm old enough. One of my favorite bands is The Cure. Hey, they have a song, Boys Don't Cry, right? That's wrong. After I came home and did some serious healing with these medicines, took to social media, started the foundation, I started talking about it. And a lot more people started reaching out to me like, wow, I didn't know this, or I can't believe this, or thank you for being so brave and talking about it. I'm like, I can't not. First of all, it sounds weird when they say that. I'm like, I call this the world's greatest Ponzi scheme. When you go heal, you come home and you want to tell everybody. I have a saying, in the military, we put the ladder down. if you make it to a higher rank or do something cool, you turn around and you put the ladder down to help your brothers and sisters. So that's what I would tell them is it's okay not to be okay. You're not suffering alone. I don't, I think I'm robbing a village somewhere of an idiot, and I'm sure Marcus Luttrell does too. But if I can do this, if a Navy fighter pilot, Top Gun Maverick type of guy can talk like this, you can too. Trust me. And we've helped on the civilian side. We've helped MMA, box the toughest guys you would think on the planet. And when you see them sitting in ceremony, cracking their chest open and bearing their traumas, it's pretty incredible to see. The world clearly could use a little bit more healing with where we are right now.
Oh, Wiz, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us, for opening up, for being vulnerable, and really being a role model for other men too, to open up about this. So thank you.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks, Breana. If you ever have any more follow-up questions about the medicines or anything like that, let me know.
Absolutely. All right. Have a great day.
All right. God bless. Bye-bye.